You were never disrespected. What actually happened was worse. You were assessed. And the reason this keeps happening in your life is because you still think people act emotionally, when in reality, they act strategically. Look at your own life for a second. That moment someone spoke to you a certain way, ignored you, tested your patience, crossed a line and watched your reaction. That wasn't rudeness, it wasn't confidence, it wasn't dominance, it was data collection. They were checking who you are when there is pressure, who you become when something is taken from you, and how much they can get away with before you push back. Think about it. The coworker who talks over you in meetings and waits to see if you reclaim the floor. The friend who jokes at your expense and watches whether you laugh it off or correct it. The woman who pulls away slightly just to see if you chase. The stranger who disrespects your time, your effort, then studies your response. None of this is random. People do not cross lines by accident. They cross them to see if there are consequences. People assess instinctively. They test before they use. And if nothing happens when they push, they learn exactly where you stand. You didn't lose respect in one big moment. You failed a series of small assessments you didn't even know were happening. Machiavelli warned that men do not move first out of hatred, but out of curiosity. They probe before they exploit. And if you fail the test, the behavior does not stop. It escalates. What you tolerate becomes permission. What you excuse becomes instruction. What you ignore becomes your role. You've felt this before. The shift in tone. The way someone becomes more comfortable disrespecting you after the first time you let it slide. You told yourself it wasn't worth addressing. You told yourself you were being mature. You told yourself you didn't want conflict. But what you were really doing was signaling something far more dangerous. You were signaling safety. Safety to disrespect. Safety to push further. Safety to treat you as someone who absorbs pressure instead of returning it. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is to be unlike the one who wronged you. But he never meant becoming passive. He meant becoming unmovable. There is a difference. Calm is not compliance. Silence is not weakness. But most people confuse restraint with surrender, and once they do, they begin to act accordingly. This is the truth no one teaches you. Not in school, not at home, not in polite society. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. By the end of this video, you will understand why disrespect shows up exactly when it does, why certain people sense weakness before you say a word, and how to stop being assessed as expandable, tolerable, or easy to manage. You will learn how these tests work, what they are measuring, and how to respond in a way that ends the evaluation without turning your life into constant conflict. If you have ever wondered why people suddenly change toward you, why boundaries erode slowly instead of all at once, why disrespect never starts big but always ends there, this is why. You were never disrespected. You were assessed. And once you understand that, you stop reacting emotionally and start moving deliberately. Disrespect never appears fully formed. It starts small, almost invisible, because it isn't meant to offend you yet. It is meant to observe you. People do not wake up deciding to disrespect you. They decide whether you are safe to test, and that decision is made early, often in the first few interactions, sometimes before you even realize a test has taken place. The test isn't loud. It's small enough to ignore. This is why disrespect often arrives as a joke, a comment that can be dismissed, a boundary crossed with plausible deniability, because jokes create discomfort without accountability. They allow the other person to observe you without committing themselves. If you laugh it off, they learn you absorb pressure. If you freeze, they learn you hesitate. If you respond emotionally, they learn where to push next. None of these outcomes are neutral. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He wrote that men judge more with their eyes than their hands. What he meant was simple. People trust what they observe over what they are told. And your reaction to discomfort is more visible than any words you could speak. Someone does not test you by attacking directly. They test you by projecting. They make a comment about people like that and watch to see if you flinch. They generalize. They diminish. They create distance, and then they observe whether you accept the frame or correct it. Every time you accept a frame that places you lower than you are, you teach people how to treat you next. Not consciously, automatically. Human behavior obeys patterns, and patterns, once established, resist change. This is why early moments matter more than later confrontations. By the time someone openly disrespects you, the assessment has already concluded. The real decision was made earlier, in the small moments you ignored because they felt too insignificant to address. This is the first reality you must internalize. Disrespect is rarely the cause. It is the result of earlier assessments that went unanswered. And here is the uncomfortable part. The reason people keep testing you is not because they are cruel. It is because they are uncertain. They do not yet know who you are in moments of friction, so they apply pressure, light at first, then heavier. This is why disrespect often escalates slowly instead of appearing all at once. It grows in proportion to what you tolerate. Each unanswered test lowers the perceived cost of crossing you again. When you excuse behavior too quickly, you send a signal. When you explain yourself unnecessarily, you send a signal. When you prioritize being liked over being clear, you send a signal. And people who are watching closely will read it. The danger is not that you are being watched. The danger is that you are being watched while believing nothing is happening. People do not need you to explode. They need to know where the edge is. When the edge is invisible, they keep walking. Notice how people treat those they believe will not leave. The employee who needs the job, the friend who always forgives, the partner who fears abandonment, the person who over-explains instead of asserting. Familiarity breeds not contempt, but experimentation. People experiment with behavior when they believe there is no cost to losing you. This is why respect often decreases the more available, accommodating and forgiving you become without structure. Not because kindness is weakness, but because kindness without boundaries removes risk. And risk is the only thing that keeps assessments from turning into entitlement. The moment someone senses that you will stay regardless of how you are treated, the dynamic shifts. They no longer need to earn your presence. They begin to manage it, adjust it, use it. This is the quiet transition from mutual respect to silent control. Once someone has tested you and learned what you tolerate, the dynamic shifts, the test is over. The behavior becomes policy. This is where most people get confused. They think disrespect appears suddenly, but what actually appears is consistency. The same late replies, the same casual dismissals, the same assumptions about your availability, your forgiveness, your silence. And at this stage, the other person is no longer curious. They are comfortable. Comfort is dangerous. Comfort tells people they understand the limits of the environment. Comfort tells them they know where the edges are and how close they can stand without falling off. And when someone is comfortable around you, they stop managing their behavior carefully. They stop performing. They start revealing how they really operate when they believe nothing is at risk. This is where assessments turn into habits. Notice how this works psychologically. Early on, people are careful. They are polite. They choose their words. They regulate themselves. But once they believe you will stay regardless, they begin to conserve energy. They cut corners. They become less precise, less considerate, less restrained, not because they hate you, but because they believe you are stable enough to absorb it. That belief is the problem. When someone believes you are stable in their life, no matter how they behave, they stop investing in keeping you. And when investment disappears, so does respect. Respect requires effort, and effort is only applied when loss feels possible. This is why people who are always available are often treated as disposable. This is why people who over-explain are often ignored. This is why people who never leave are often taken for granted, not out of malice, but out of economics. Human behavior follows incentives. When there is no cost to mistreating you, mistreatment becomes efficient. Machiavelli understood this coldly. He observed that loyalty, politeness, and restraint are not moral qualities first. They are strategic behaviors maintained only when necessary. Remove the necessity and you remove the behavior. That is why people test before they use. They are not trying to hurt you. They are trying to understand whether you will protect yourself. Once they conclude you will not, they adjust accordingly. This is also why reacting emotionally at this stage rarely works. By the time you feel disrespected enough to explode, the other person has already categorized you. Your anger feels sudden to you, but irrational to them. In their mind, nothing changed. They behaved the way they always have. You simply tolerated it longer than you should have. This is how people lose leverage without realizing it. Leverage is not built in moments of conflict. It is built in moments of calm, in the small corrections, the quiet refusals, the subtle withdrawals, the controlled responses that signal self-respect without demanding validation. When those moments are missed, leverage evaporates. Think about how often people try to fix disrespect by explaining themselves. They clarify intentions, they express feelings, they hope understanding will restore balance. But understanding is not what created the imbalance. Tolerance did, and explanation without consequence only confirms the original assessment. It tells the other person, "I am uncomfortable, but I am still here." And that sentence, whether spoken or implied, is permission. Another hard truth. People respect what they cannot predict. Predictability is comforting, but it is also exploitable. When someone knows you will always respond, always forgive, always stay, always explain, they no longer need to manage themselves around you. They manage you instead. This is where many people confuse consistency with strength. Consistency is only strength when it is chosen freely. When it is automatic, it becomes a weakness, because anything automatic can be planned around. Look at the way people behave around those they fear losing. They are careful, they listen, they self-correct quickly, they apologize without being asked. Not because they are better people, but because uncertainty sharpens behavior. Uncertainty creates respect. This does not mean becoming volatile or unpredictable for its own sake. It means refusing to make your tolerance obvious. It means not broadcasting how much you are willing to endure. It means allowing space for consequences to exist without announcing them. Machiavelli warned that men rarely change their nature unless forced by circumstance. Words rarely force change. Outcomes do. This is why walking away, withdrawing access, or quietly altering your availability often changes behavior more effectively than confrontation ever could. Not because you are punishing, but because you are reintroducing risk. You are rebalancing the equation. The moment someone senses that access to you is conditional, behavior adjusts. And this is the moment many people fear. They worry it is manipulative, that it is cold, that it is unfair. But what is actually happening is simple. You are no longer subsidizing someone else's comfort at your own expense. Respect returns when effort is required again. If someone truly values you, boundaries clarify the relationship. If they only valued what you provided, boundaries expose that truth quickly. Either way, you gain information you did not have before. This is the point where assessments either reset or end. And this leads to a deeper realization most people avoid. Some relationships only function when one person absorbs more than they should. The moment you stop absorbing, the relationship destabilizes, not because you changed, but because the original structure was never balanced. Disrespect thrives in imbalance. When you correct imbalance early, respect stabilizes. When you ignore it, disrespect grows bold. This is why people who say, "I don't know why they changed," are usually looking at the wrong moment. The change did not happen when behavior worsened. It happened when tolerance became predictable. Once you see this pattern, you stop personalizing disrespect. You stop asking, "Why are they doing this to me?" and start asking, "What did they learn about me earlier that made this possible?" That question is uncomfortable, but it is also where control returns. Because once you understand that disrespect follows assessment, you stop reacting to the surface and start managing the conditions underneath it. And when you manage the conditions, behavior changes without drama. At this stage, most people misunderstand what control actually looks like. They imagine dominance. They imagine raised voices, hard stares. They imagine winning the moment. And that misconception is exactly why they keep losing the dynamic. Real control is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't escalate. It redirects. The mistake most men make when they finally decide to stand up for themselves is overcorrecting. They go from silence to explosion, from tolerance to aggression. And that swing tells everyone watching the same thing. You were never in control. You were holding it in. People don't respect explosions. They study them. They wait for them. They learn how to trigger them. And once they know how to trigger you, they own the tempo. That's why the most effective response never looks like a response at all. It looks like a shift. Someone interrupts you, and you stop speaking immediately, then continue when they finish. Someone delays your request, and you adjust your availability without commentary. Nothing dramatic happens in those moments, but something registers. Because the system people use to assess you depends on feedback. They push, they watch, they adjust. When the feedback changes, the behavior recalibrates. This is why the strongest responses are behavioral, not verbal. Words invite debate. Behavior sets conditions. Once you grasp this, you stop trying to handle people. You stop trying to manage emotions. You stop trying to control outcomes. You start controlling access. And access is power. Most people give it away constantly, then wonder why they're treated casually. Think about how often you reward bad behavior with continued engagement. How often you explain yourself to someone who already crossed a line. How often you stay present in spaces that subtly disrespect you. Every time you stay without adjustment, you signal tolerance. Every time you adjust without explanation, you signal boundaries. This is where things get uncomfortable, because you realize that much of what you labeled as who they are was actually who you allowed. That realization stings, not because it blames you, but because it gives you responsibility, and responsibility removes excuses. Machiavelli observed that men are quick to test what they sense will not punish them, and quick to retreat when consequences are immediate and consistent. This is why delayed reactions are deadly to respect. When you wait days, weeks, or months to address something, the correction feels personal instead of structural. It feels like a mood, not a rule. Rules don't require emotion. They require repetition. And once repetition is established, the testing fades. This is why certain people in your life never get challenged the way you do. It's not because they are intimidating, it's because their boundaries are predictable. People know exactly what happens if they cross them. When you become predictable in your boundaries, people stop gambling with you. And here's the part most people don't want to hear. You don't need to be respected by everyone. You need to be respected by the system around you. Once the system adjusts, individuals follow, which leads to the final shift. You stop asking, "Why are they doing this to me?" And you start asking, "What behavior of mine made this profitable?" That question is uncomfortable, but it's also freeing, because it means the power was never outside of you. It was always in how you responded to the first test. And once you understand that, you stop fearing disrespect. You recognize it early. You intercept it quietly, and you end it before it ever becomes personal. From here, everything changes, because now the question is no longer how to respond after the line is crossed. It's how to make the line visible before anyone even considers stepping over it. Most people never realize they were assessed until the consequences are already locked in. You didn't just learn a concept here. You learned how the game actually works. And now you have a choice. You can keep consuming surface-level advice, motivational noise, feel-good explanations that tell you what you want to hear and leave you just as readable as before, or you can sharpen the edge. Everything I share publicly on this channel is the outer layer, the part that survives the algorithm, the part that won't get buried, taken down, or quietly suppressed. But there are truths beneath this, patterns that can't be explained openly, principles that don't survive mass exposure, not because they're wrong, but because they're dangerous when misunderstood. That's why the deeper material lives elsewhere. If you want access to the things I can't say here, if you want to understand how assessments turn into control, leverage, and quiet dominance, if you want to stop being readable and start becoming unpredictable, that's what the membership is for. Not for everyone. Only for people who already see what's happening and want to move beyond awareness into advantage. If this video made you uncomfortable, that's a good sign. It means you're no longer asleep to the pattern. If it helped you see past situations clearly for the first time, then you already know this channel isn't entertainment. It's training. Subscribe if you're serious about staying ahead of the social game. Like the video so it reaches the people who need it, even if they don't want to hear it yet. And share it with someone who keeps calling it disrespect without realizing they're being measured. I'll see you in the next one.